Hey guys, this is Untitled. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars lore video. Today's content is sponsored by the Untitled Twitter. Go follow me on there, please. I still have a lot less followers than a bunch of my friends, and it makes me sad. I'm just joking. But anyway, let's talk about Star Wars canon for a change. And I've been now to Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars theme park, and specifically the one in Anaheim, twice now. The first time I went right when it opened, I was mostly just enjoying the experience and the atmosphere. I wasn't really focused on work or anything like that. However, when I visited for a second time just a couple of weeks ago, I was really paying attention to things, and I noticed specifically that the Smuggler's Run Falcon Ride had a lot of lore and world building for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but Corellia, of course the planet Han Solo is from, and a major shipyard and industrial planet in the galaxy, is not only occupied by the First Order, but also producing Star Destroyers for them, so that's pretty wild. And, although not related to this video, the Star Wars Allegiance comic series shows us that the First Order also controls Fondor and has their eyes set on Mon Cala. So they've made some really serious inroads and control now some major planets within the galaxy. We still don't know what's going on with Coruscant, but that's neither here nor there and probably a topic for another video. However, a much smaller detail during the ride is the fact that the First Order can actually be seen using a new type of TIE fighter. Well, sort of new. The fighter is called specifically a heavy TIE. It has some sort of unique engines, but also a pretty distinct profile. When I saw this last time I was on the ride, I actually thought that it was 100% just the heavy TIE fighter that we see in Solo. That was called specifically the TIE Battery or the TIE Brute. That ship appears in Solo, albeit in a very minor role, and as Phil Shostak says on Twitter, quoting Lucasfilm design supervisor James Klein, the fighter was called Bubba during production for Solo, a bigger, heavy-duty, big boy TIE. Thinking we could fit 3 TIE pilots, too crowded, notice the old school ball gunner. So to keep it pretty simple, it's essentially a heavier, more well-armed TIE, and the most unique feature is the fact that the turreted cockpit can presumably swivel vertically to target enemies. I actually thought they were the exact same fighter until I looked more closely at the Solo footage. The main difference is in the engine, as you can see in the footage from the ride. Courtesy of TPM vids, which I'll link below, the heavy fighter used by the First Order has sort of line engines. That's not a scientific term, I'm just kinda stupid, while the other TIE from Solo has more standard engines. And to be fair, we really don't get a good look at the heavy TIE during the Galaxy's Edge ride. I was really basing the assumptions mostly off sort of the rear profile. They're definitely longer than the average TIE, and if you look, they're actually firing backwards. Yes, the TIE SF can do that, but if you look very closely and really slow down the footage, you can tell that the shots are coming from the left side, not the center of the TIE, which is how you would expect the layout to be on the Bubba. I know we're overanalyzing things, but this one shot in particular to me very clearly shows some sort of bubble or second cockpit. So I think it's very likely that the First Order is using some sort of perhaps advanced version of the heavy TIE, and I'm guessing the main change would be a difference in engines. I was already feeling pretty confident about this just after going on the ride again, then doing that further analysis made me even more confident, but I wasn't going to do a video on it until I saw a recent upload from Star Wars Kids, of all places. Yesterday there was a new video called The First Order, Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures Fun Facts. And I mean, who doesn't love fun facts about everyone's favorite fascist regime? But besides for a very liver-spotted Supreme Leader Snoke, the thing that I noticed the most in this video, and I think that a lot of people noticed, was that at 38 seconds, it very explicitly shows, under First Order starfighters, a TIE Brute. This is alongside the standard First Order TIE and the TIE SF. Now, a few people in the comments thought this was a mistake, but I don't really think so. First of all, I don't see how you could mistake the TIE Brute for any other First Order fighter. If you were going to make the mistake, it would probably be for the TIE SF, but that is already represented here, and in general, these videos have been extremely well produced and edited. It's also worth noting that the image of the brute they use is actually from that concept art that I showed you. It's not actually an official image of the craft. At least, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure, I could be wrong on this, and it's hard to tell if there's any differences anyway. To me, it looks like the paneling on the wings could be slightly altered, and there's less sort of detailing on the concept art image, but whether that's an intentional change or not, it's hard to say. Either way, I do think it's interesting that we've seen what looks to me to be a TIE brute appear in Galaxy's Edge, and now we have what I think is a deliberate inclusion and a unique choice of picture in a YouTube video. I think if it was just going to be a TIE brute, they would have used that one photo that's available everywhere else, like they did with the TIE FO and the TIE SF, but again, who knows for sure. I do want to talk about one last thing, and that's the conceptual origins of the TIE brute. Obviously, it existed and was designed for Solo, but I've also read that the earliest designs for the fighter came from The Force Awakens. Now, I do own the Force Awakens art book, and we can see a turreted fighter in there. It's actually meant for 4 people rather than 2, but if that is true, it'll be interesting to say the least. Star Wars has been drawing from The Force Awakens concepts for lots of things, including a new TIE for The Mandalorian, as well as I think the new First Order TIE bomber that's appeared in some new Star Wars EU content. So, I mean, it would just make sense, but I'm curious to hear what you think. After looking at that Galaxy's Edge footage, do you think I'm correct and this is the First Order version of the TIE Bubba, or the heavy armored TIE, or the TIE brute, whatever you call it? Or have I just completely imagined things and probably need to be locked away somewhere? Today's question of the day comes from Justin Helms, who asks, would you rather fight 5 Ewoks or 1 Wookiee? That's a good question, and you know what? I have to take the 1 Wookiee. Listen to my rationale here. There's no way in 95 or 99.5% of times that I'm ever going to come out of this alive. The thing is, when I fight 1 Wookiee, I only need to get lucky once. I think if I take 5 Ewoks, I can maybe take 1, but then I've got 4 left and I need to get lucky 4 more times. Against the Wookiee, there's a chance that he has a heart attack, stumbles and breaks his leg, or maybe 1 in 10,000 times that I get a really lucky hit on him and he goes down. Either way though, it's not looking good for your boy Ek. Anyway guys, as I said, please follow me on Twitter. There's also links to my Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, LinkedIn, IMDb, Snapchat, and Pixo accounts down in the description. Make sure to follow them all and interact with them daily. But until I see you there, have a great day, and may the Force be with you.